mics are hot and such.
Alrighty. Mics are hot, Raze.
Awesome.
We are live. How is it going? We're doing a little kind of not so fancy talk show VOD review of the TASL set that was between FTWin and Slaughterhouse. It was a pretty good set. It was a little bit ago at this point, but
I think it was last week. It wasn't.
yeah,
It was
there's
either
just
last
been
week
some
or the
good
week before.
yeah, there's definitely been some good sets since then. I think that this one seemed like a good candidate for VOD review, especially since Slaughterhouse put up more of a fight than I guess people were anticipating. I think like everyone got their predictions kind of wrong.
Yeah. Like also, yeah. There was a lot of momentum stuff. Like I know the first 3 games, it were very. This team won the first fight and then definitively won the rest of the game, and then vice versa. They started mellowing out towards the end of the set, but there's still very interesting games, and they'll be interesting to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to get asked Raze last minute if you wanted to do cameras, but then I realized you can't share screen over Discord and do cameras at the same time, so that was kind of annoying. And I hope my mic isn't like doing some jank stuff right now either.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you want to do cameras? I'm like, I can, and then we realize logistics.
Yeah, does my mic sound okay to you, Raze?
Yeah, it sounds fine to me.
Okay.
Could be an OBS
I think it might just be because I'm... Oh, well, K-Bot has been obliterated. Wow. I have no idea. I literally can't even see what he posted because they're just gone. I don't even get to look at them. Also, that might just be because I'm like, because my laptop's here and yeah. My setup's not perfect yet. Soon, TM. Yeah, that's probably just because I'm talking in the wrong direction. But yeah, we're gonna like review the set. We got a fancy epic pen. Yeah, fancy drawing tools that I learned about fairly recently.
Epic pen is low-key great.
Honestly, yeah.
Throwing it out there. Yeah, okay. Just shoot it in one of our DMs, K-Bot.
Alright, try it, K-Bot. You can link it.
Wait, go.
I believe that you're not going to post a donation link to a Nigerian Prince website, obs.ninja. Don't know what that is. Anyways.
I don't want the clipboard.
Yeah. I think it's about time we hop into the actual games.
Yeah.
So yeah, so BRT is Bursty.
And yeah, so the lineups,
Biscuit.
Yeah, Biscuit, Kyo, Bagel, okay. Yeah. Sound only on the left side? That seems very strange.
Yeah, that's weird. Man. I am gonna try and...
It wouldn't be the first time if there wasn't a bunch of stuff that was kind of whack.
I just want to fix that. I don't want this to be really dumb. Does it sound fine now? I literally did nothing. Maybe I literally like opened settings and closed settings. Does it sound fine? I love computers. I'm supposed to be good at computers.
Computers are great.
They just do shit. Sometimes they just do shit. Okay, whatever. Yeah, Raze is fine and probably mine isn't. If I were to guess.
Stuck in our left ear. do you want to go ahead and go to comp so I can at least start talking about something while
Yes. Yeah. Let's.
yeah, we figure it out?
I'll. I'm gonna just move ahead. God, my camera's off too. Anyhow, let's take a look at the comps. What do you think, Raze?
Um, I'm actually a big fan of the Slaughterhouse composition coming into this. Main reason being is the double splatling composition from FTWin has a hard time getting going because you have to charge your splatlings. So when you're playing like from behind, I generally consider it more difficult to get like Bagel into the map, or to less of an extent Biscuit, because the splatling has much more mobility, or the Nautilus rather has much more mobility. But the Mini, I think, if it's stuck on a high ground or low ground, is going to have a really hard time retaking into the map. Whereas Slaughterhouse has decent mobility, like a much more standard composition compared to what FTWin is doing. Like your Kenta Jr. is going to do its bubble thing. It's going to put down a lot of turf. Taylor is obviously a T-Tech one trick, so he's going to do good things. Soldier is kind of the person I'm keeping my eye on throughout this set because I think his machine is really hot. And I think it's just generally something I would personally like to see Slaughterhouse do more of. And then Power on Charger is just power. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, every time Power comes out, it's very impressive. I think, God, there's a lot of issues going on in the background of the stream, but this is the first attempt, so I hope your left ear is ready. I'm actually a pretty big fan of the double splatling. I like, basically, you toss Mini in a comp, anything works with it. It provides enough paint for the rest of your team to move around, and I think, you know, I don't know if this is the best kind of term to describe it, but FTWin's been liking that kind of like death ball sort of thing. It feels like it's the kind of comp that just like is a moving fortress. You just move forward slowly, you take paint forward with you as you go, and of course you have the potential to like be super aggressive, either with Junior or with Machine to hold up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, I think it's definitely like the hardest part of this match is going to be getting up onto like the enemy plat and whatnot.
Yeah. And like as long as Bagel can take positions that he likes, I think the FT1 composition is fine. I'm just concerned if Bagel has to get stuck in like office or something, if he's really going to be able to like help contest second checkpoint or something with other than missiles. And it's not missiles aren't good, but it's just getting the most value out of that Mini can be challenging in a defensive position on this map, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So look at this opening. Let's just go ahead and talk about this. Go ahead and rewind it, because I have rewind it just a little bit after this first fight. So what we see here is Bagel comes out behind Slaughterhouse, and actually, like, he doesn't get a single pick, while Slaughterhouse does. Taylor takes a really, really nice off angle, climbing up Fan and then collapsing 3d4 on FTWin. That was a move that I really, really liked because it got him a lot of value without having to use the inkjet really quick. Also, it got Soldier using his fizzies and chip damage in the left side right where he wants to do it was really, really well executed. Because they just didn't pay attention to Bagel until the left side fight was done. It got the tower moving and then starts a really nice snowball because you can take that up into street really, really easily.
Yeah, I think overall, you know, this pusher on the left side from Bagel, or yeah, let me make this pen a little bigger. Yes, this pusher on the left side from Bagel isn't a bad idea. we see it get pretty close to working, but the issue that I had, I'd say, with it was basically Taylor had already like bridged the gap. Taylor had already just kind of gone straight through the middle, right here, and that kind of puts these all three members just stuck on top of each other, basically next to a machine on the fan. It's just like really hard pinched.
And I think this is a small oversight from FTWin, because giving up control of that fan, especially really early, is really, really painful. Like, it's because what just happened is Taylor's like, oh, there's no one on fan, let me just take all of this space. Like, there was no one on snipe, there was no one on spinner. Taylor was just free to walk in there and just have his way with FTWin. And he played it really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Going from here, going to this part on the fan, I think this is potentially where their comp struggles. Basically, it's a little bit weird, I think, because you kind of like you get the Ray coming out early, but nobody's there to support the Ray. I guess like the Ray is used to kind of survive. They Ray up here, nobody dies. They bubble here to stall a little bit. Taylor is over here and gets a pick, which is pretty nice. But basically, this is the only like actual killing that's going on. So they're really just kind of stalling for time here. It feels like, which I mean, this is an important checkpoint, and if you can get it, that's a big deal. But like this has the makings of like a decent push, but not one that's going to go all the way. Like in my opinion.
So I actually really liked that Stingray from Power, because what it did is with all the high turfing weapons on the high ground, especially like, again, looking at Bagel, it didn't allow them to sit up there uncontested and just paint the map to make second checkpoint difficult to take. And while Power was raying, Taylor's rotation to Office was very nice, because he ended up taking out Kyo to solidify Office control. Then it was just some specials and a machine shots away from taking that second checkpoint.
Yeah, that's true. I think maybe I misjudged it a bit, but I think like overall that was a very, it was a very like defensive aggression, fair to say. Most of the specials were used to keep the enemy back and keep themselves alive rather than, playing offense, which I think it's cool to see that out of Slaughterhouse. That's kind of like their MO. Yeah.
And that's the way I think Slaughterhouse really wants to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's pretty neat to see that. Yeah, I mean, this fight gets kind of messy over here. Yeah, I think at this point, like, there's just kind of like, there's just a lot of trading going on. I don't really know what I'm saying, whatever. There's a lot of trading going on, and it just feels like...
What I really would have liked to see out of FTWin
a little bit
is after that second checkpoint, just kind of sit and spawn for a second maybe, get all of their respawns together, and then push as 4, because at least that way it would have given them a solid team fight, and it could have pushed them in pretty easily. But it just felt like, especially after second checkpoint, it just looked like one after another going down. Granted, Power got a nice double with Ray, which was really good on him. And then their spawns were also really nice. Like, getting Soldier in Office was also really, really big. And he got away, too. Soldier getting out of Office to jump back into the street fight is just really, really nice. Because it keeps people out of the fight. And Keen, with his better kit for holding with Torp, gives him more information on the Office, and in turn builds more space for Power to keep this fight going, as Power can now provide safe jumps into street, which is what's going to keep this push alive through most of the game.
Yeah. So I think like right there, this moment that we just passed here, it looks like FTWin has like everything in the bag. They're regaining control, and it looks like this game has just kind of felt like they've kind of ended up on top of each other a little bit too much. Like all three of them ending up like right on the plat. I think Power gets a collat. I'm not entirely sure, but two of them go down. Biscuit's pretty far away. I think that, like, this seems like a spot where the game should have at least
And try to return to
stabilized a bit.
neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, no, I agree with that. Like, Bagel going down early on this push is bad. A, because that's another turfing weapon that goes down, but Bursty is also, like you said, caught out on top of Kyo. So Taylor with Inkjet or Soldier with Machine can really easily just kind of wipe them out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Power is just doing his power positioning of backing up a little bit. Why don't you push me? Why don't you push me? Snap, you're gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. They just kind of ended up stuck in a narrow pathway, and it was just a little bit awkward on the retake. Pushing on the retake on this map is definitely awkward, like, regardless of who you are, even FTWin. But,
yeah. Like, right here, I don't want to see Bagel approaching this edge. I think just kind of leave this, and I would honestly like to see them try to take a slightly deeper position in office, so more towards that left side fan, and try to break in that direction, and at least try to put some turf over that office wall to make it harder for Taylor and Soldier to fight. Because if you make it harder for Taylor and Soldier to fight in office, then this push can get a lot more difficult for Slaughterhouse. But Bagel going, I'm pretty sure he's going to go down to this Ray, makes this retake really, really challenging. And this retake is challenging in general because of the specials that are constantly coming out of Slaughterhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, and then Taylor just cuts off the left side with Inkjet, and yeah.
Yeah, that's a very nice kind of, like, cutoff over there. The left side fan is pretty much the way that you regain pink control coming back in. But yeah, that was a very strong game from Slaughterhouse. They kind of just, they just kept up the aggression and punished FTWin for ending up in like awkward spots.
They really, really abused FTWin's mistake in the beginning of not covering fan. Taylor did a really good job of just saying, yeah, all of this space, this is mine now.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting a nice triple, and then Slaughterhouse finished that fight, turned, dealt with Bagel, and then just kept the game in their pace, made it so FTWin didn't have any time to breeze with Raze and Inkjets and Bubbles, and it was very, very good.
Alrighty. So yeah, that was the first game. Next one's going to be Tower Control Musselforge. Is this the FTWin counter pick?
Yes, I believe so.
Interesting. So, looking back at comps, you've got very similar comp coming out from FTWin. They, instead of the machine, they have the Tri-Slosher this time. And anytime you see Kyo on that try, that makes me happy seeing that. This is a very strong map for Tri as well. I think that it's going to have a very easy time kind of maintaining control of both of these trenches here. Just watching over the edges, and similar-ish comp coming. Is this identical comp? Yeah. Except for the bamboo.
Yeah, except for the bamboo. Slaughterhouse running basically the same thing except for the bamboo. That's obviously to play to the short-range nature of this map. But power, still obviously one of them keeping on his chargers, is not changing much up. And it worked really well for them last game. If they get another opening, they'll just do it again and just run in at them. I think the big thing that is different between, like, the really big change is the second armor pickup from FTWin. That's really important because what that does is that allows me to have just higher uptime in general on TC, which is like having more armors to fight around checkpoints, or just face tank power shots or inkjet shots is really going to be nice. And then it also allows me to get more armored inkjets up into the sky, which is going to be a big thing, especially for like second checkpoint, where it's really hard to get a lot of value when you're sitting on tower. So that armored inkjet's going to come in very handy. Also, a big fan of the missiles here on because of the mini pick. Like we've already kind of talked about the mini pick and how it can work in a lot of compositions, but I think missiles are exceptionally good here, just because you have like the trench, and then the map is split up into so many levels, so it's a lot harder. Again, like if I'm on second checkpoint and I'm Bagel and I have missiles, I can actually get value on that second checkpoint instead of just having to sit there, which is going to be really really nice compared to like sitting soldier on tower on second checkpoint where he can kind of slosh up, but he doesn't have as many options for getting value on that second checkpoint. And second checkpoint is kind of the beginning of the end. It's where a lot of teams win or lose, because if you can get through second, then you're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from ending the game.
Yeah, so let's see. At the start, overall pretty neutral. Taylor's in a bit of a weird spot. Yeah, they get caught out. There's a little bit too much paint over on that side of the map. Keen pushing in with the bubbles, ends up again losing the paint. What happened to power at the start of this? I need to take a look.
So what happened at the beginning? FTWin rolled out 3 right side into Biscuit. Biscuit did a really good job of managing that aggression, and he got a pick on power while the rest of FTWin was collapsing on Taylor, because Taylor took a really aggressive start again, trying to catch FTWin in a mistake. But Biscuit managed the aggression from the rest of the team, so Slaughterhouse couldn't support Taylor, and then now you see the results of that as FTWin is starting to push. Taylor again finds himself behind FTWin, and I'm not a huge fan of it. He can't really do much in terms of tower, except what he just did, which is run straight forward at it. I would have rather seen him play a slightly more, not necessarily reserve position, but I would have liked to see him play closer to the team or try to jump away. Just taking the time he distracted FTWin and moving on. So right now, FTWin is popping most of their specials to keep this going. Biscuit hits a wonderful direct, and then yeah. So again, if I'm Slaughterhouse here, I'm waiting till third. I'm just trying to get all my people up, because that's really what needs to happen here. If stuff like this keeps happening, it's just gonna just feed, and there's not much Slaughterhouse can do about it. Another armored inkjet going up, just absolutely having the time of his life on that high ground, like I talked about earlier. Having that armored inkjet whenever you need it is very, very strong on this map.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Okay. I'm going to go back a few seconds. I just want to see kind of, I was looking away. Apparently my mic situation has fixed itself. I don't know how. I didn't do anything. But yeah.
Just needed to warm up, yeah.
Apparently. Yeah, over on the right side of this map. Let's see.
Taylor has found himself in very awkward positions through the entire duration of this game. Like, he somehow manages to find himself behind FTWin a bunch with no turf control. He's like marooned on an island.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a result of the paint output coming from FTWin. Basically, if you're on the opposite side, you just can't find a way back just because of all the paint control they have. I think that, I mean, obviously there's some trickling going on here, Keen going down. Power, the inkjet from Biscuit made a big play over on that top left there, but I think at this point you need to getting control of the plat first, which they seem to be doing. Taylor was alone and out of range, but it just I don't know.
Props to Soldier, though, at least stopping the trickling of that was going on.
Yeah, they did slow down the momentum a little bit at the end, which is good. I think that this point here, it's kind of hard to stop the tower like fully at this point, especially when you got something like a knot watching that far
Yeah,
left
and
side.
and I do think Taylor is doing this like I think he's doing the right thing here. The
Hmm.
big problem is there's just no one else in his team. His team isn't in a great position to do much with it
Yeah.
because like they couldn't hold the door or the flank into spawn, which made so the Nautilus walked in and said, "Yeah, you can't really contest this anymore," which is not great.
Yeah, once the tower gets over there, it's not super feasible to push back in. But yeah,
Yeah,
both of the games so
this game,
far have been like super
yeah.
one-sided.
Well, they were perfect examples of just kind of good play.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse made a mistake at the beginning. Taylor found himself in the middle of three FTWin members, died instantly. Biscuit did a really good job managing the initial three-man start from Slaughterhouse. He ended up getting a pick on power while Soldier and Keen repositioned, and FTWin just snowballed their lead with missiles and inkjets and armors all the way through the end of the game.
Yeah.
That was one of the cases where a team put their foot on the gas and just didn't let up.
Yeah, I'm I vaguely remember this set. Yeah, okay. We have Keen on the Sorella tent here, bringing out that curling rush for the paint on the zone here. This is a pretty flat map over in the middle. And we do have Biscuit on the jet, actually. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, these are both
So,
very well, at least I think the comp on the right is very kind of tailored, no pun intended, to this map. Got a lot of range, got a decent amount of paint, and you've got Ray, whereas I don't know, the comp that Slaughterhouse is bringing out here is interesting. It's like, you know, pretty similar to what they do. I think they're gonna be lacking in paint in general. Uh, but I imagine they're going to be kind of relying on the bubbles and the tent to take the zone here. Whereas I
yeah.
think the consistent like mid range presence that FTWin has will probably just give them an easier time overall in mid.
Yeah, what I think FTWin's trying to do with their composition is they're trying to long arm Slaughterhouse. They're saying as long as we keep you at an arm's distance, we are going to out neutral game you.
Yeah,
Obviously, the way Slaughterhouse is going to try to counter that is with the tent. As long as the tent can get into the map, Slaughterhouse should be fine.
yeah. I'm guessing FTWin's kind of hoping at this point to use the Ray to try and take them out, but the Ray being popped super early, being popped like on the it was popped like at the very start before it just doesn't seem like they're on the same page here. Like the Ray happens before like an armor comes out. Nobody's really ready to go in yet, I would say, or they're at least hesitant to. So it
That
kind of
that's
yeah,
what I think that is I think that's basically looking at Slaughterhouse going, you don't have much turf, so if I can get a really early ray, there's a good likelihood that I can just get a really easy first kill, and we can try to snowball this game.
true.
Because that's what has won the first two other games is an early snowball. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, Soldier making a nice play over there, dealing with that like turf disadvantage. Yeah, dealing with that turf disadvantage up here with the bubbles. Kyo watching here, they seem to be a little bit like hesitant to say jump in and try and help them over here. Probably the right play, like in retrospect, but you know that big play from Soldier just kind of took them this entire left side of the map, and Bagel's now just in a super awkward position. Probably gonna
yeah,
stagger.
If Bagel can jump out here, that's probably the best thing he's gonna do. But walking in with the bubbles is fine until we look at I think we look at the rest of Slaughterhouse's composition and go, what's really going to follow up on those bubbles? Like, what am I
Yeah,
going to use to solidify that control? Do I want to deploy 10 or am I using my bamboo? It's like we've the engage, but I'm not sure if Slaughterhouse is going to have the holding power.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think at that point, you know, it's a nice play to take the bubbles over there. You just have to like really go in to support them, and I guess nobody was able to get over there quick enough. So Yeah, they kind of like end up awkwardly like half supporting them and dying on the retake, or dying like as FTWin comes back from spawn. It's just like an awkward position, I guess. Like it worked for taking the top part of the map, but it didn't
Yeah.
last, like you said.
Again, like I think looking at the Slaughterhouse composition, I don't really think there is anything that wants to play in that like top area, like right under the scoreboard.
Hmm.
Like there's nothing really on their team that screams I want to play over there. Like your tent wants to play in mid near the ramp. The bamboo also doesn't really want to push that far because it wants to abuse drops. I don't I honestly think Squeezer is probably going to want to look to play on enemy street so it can abuse its range and bombs and long arm stuff.
Hmm.
Like Slaughterhouse is a very mid focused composition, I think, and that would work, but FTWin has a composition that is focused almost exclusively on long arming, on slowly pushing, creeping forward, putting turf down, then popping an armor, then slowly creeping forward more, then creeping forward more until they're through the zone and they have control of the map.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a nice pick over here on the right side of the map from Taylor, but honestly, like when with a Ray coming out, like this is basically, I imagine, what Biscuits just had in mind the entire game. Because if you have no paint and your strategy for going through mid is either a tent shield or bubbles, a Ray just through the middle is just like game over. So
Yeah.
this,
Also, Taylor getting a pick on Kyo, I struggle to see the relevance of the Kyo kill right now
yeah, I mean, okay,
because
so it would,
again,
I think it would be relevant if there wasn't a Ray coming out right now. Obviously, he'd be able to come over on this side through like the bunker.
mhm,
But obviously, like with the Ray coming through, the rest of Slaughterhouse is going to have to back up. So it's like it's a useful pick, obviously, but it's not, I guess, the most useful just because of the Ray coming out, and not to mention, it's pretty good Ray as well because Power, of course, has in mind I've got to go get the Ray, and Bursty's sitting there waiting.
mhm.
So it's like a very well defended Ray, and Ray is just kind of an arrow to the heart of like Slaughterhouse comp, unlike the
Yeah.
pushbacks.
Well, yeah, because they don't really have any burst paint. So if like this ray comes out or something, they're gonna have to like jump away or jump to each
Hmm.
other to try to avoid it. There's not much they can do in terms of let me just like have my junior do a quick 360 and now I have all the room to run in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we're kind of in this stage of the game where, like I talked about a little bit earlier, where FTWin's comp is sitting pretty. They can start long arming Keen and Power and Soldier out of the map, and there's like that's what they want to do because they can just give so much space.
Yeah, here I am about to
Soldier,
say Booyah Zone's gonna do jack shit, but I mean they actually end up getting a pick out of it. But like, what is Booyah going to do in this situation? Like, it keeps you alive for about a second and very gently paints the zone. Soldiers
yeah,
off in their own world. I don't know
I
what they had in mind. I feel like they should have probably been waiting by bridge to hopefully meet up with someone. They just were a little bit overeager.
yeah, I actually like the booyah from Taylor. My problem is we don't really have anything to follow up with it.
Yeah.
I think if that booyah came a second later, so like Keen's just starting to walk into zone, and like he's just deployed shield, he's looking to fight something, and we put that booyah down. That's a really good booyah. I think we clean out that mid fight really easily.
Hmm.
But throwing it here, like you said, it kind of tickles zones. It actually gets a kill, which is kind of more than anticipated. But we don't really. That's really all we get with it, and we get a little bit of control.
Yeah.
But then we just go end up down, and we end up going down instantly again. Um, it doesn't lead us to a hold.
Yeah, I mean Booyah on Zone is really like for most maps it's not going to do anything in terms of like do much in terms of capping the zone, so you really got to use it to kind of meet up with your teammates. Like
Yeah,
if they were able to isolate them, if they were able to booyah basically the same spot, booyah like right here, and while Bagel's here and like Keen is somewhere around here, I think that might work out better.
yeah. Like again, I think the booyah placement and stuff from Taylor was really, really good. I think he just needed to wait a second to get Keen in a slightly better position to actually follow up on it because we threw out a resource and I think we threw it out properly. We just didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, there's no
Um,
follow up.
yeah. We're doing it again. I think at this point Taylor needs to be putting his booyah square on zone,
Hmm.
like because he needs to realize that he doesn't have teammates in a place to follow up on it. Because we're not pushing in with it again. Like we need to get Keen or Soldier or somebody in a position where they can actually follow up on splitting that zone. So if we're just throwing in booyahs all willy nilly, we're not really getting anything out of them.
Yeah, and I mean, like look at this over here. Kyo gets away. Kyo gets away with chilling here and sharking, getting a pick on Keen. Basically, and just like a second later, they end up sharking like on the wall here and getting a pick on Power, just because no one like on the team can really do anything like at someone like over a wall from a distance. Power is just kind of sitting there like, hey, there's someone here. What do we do? What do we do? And Keen is like, I'm going to walk slowly in their direction. And by the time the tent gets there, Kyo's already kind of acted.
Yeah.
It's
What I would
like,
really like.
yeah, it's
Sorry.
just like kind of an awkward, Kyo does a good job kind of abusing like that, I get lack of mobility and lack of paint coming from Slaughterhouse.
Yeah. What I would personally really like to see is I would like to see Soldier and Taylor switch positions. Because if Taylor pops the booyah from where Soldier is, he actually has the ability to follow up on his own booyah, given Power is actually covering the push from FTWin. But with Taylor
Yeah.
popping it from across the water, he cannot follow up on his own utility, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but given the situation we're in, it's not really doing anything, so we need to start using our resources a little more selfishly so we can get things done and push into the map. Um, Also, again, putting a more aggressive presence with Keen, I think, would be much better because then it's something to follow up with it. Like, I'm not saying Squeezer can't be aggressive, but it is not inherently aggressive or as aggressive as the K Pro would be. And I think giving the K Pro something like a tent shield that's really nice to work around would be a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think so. Power ends up kind of going on an adventure over here, but there's one coming back from spawn that's not really going to work out super well. Kyo actually cancels those bubbles, which is very nice. I mean, Slaughterhouse is kind of hoping, to get a bubble double or triple here. That's kind of like their way of getting kills in quick succession. Um, but like in this situation, it's very awkward, I guess, because once basically this happens and Taylor gets taken out, Kyo has like full control of this entire side. Keen's here, their shield's gonna go away eventually. Power's too far away to do anything. So it's basically just like a matter of time before all of the members of FTWin are just gonna rush zone.
Yeah. Honestly, what I would really like to see Slaughterhouse do after this flip is just leave. Just back off.
Yeah.
You have the penalty, that's the most important thing you have. But what you don't have is like looking they don't have control of their own pillow. They don't have a way out of this map should a fight go bad for them.
Hmm.
So they need to dictate the terms of engagement. Like we almost have soldier bubbles. We almost have curling rush. We can push back in again. We're gonna have the tools to re-engage. But right now we're down in numbers and we're down in turf. Like pushing this envelope isn't a smart idea.
Yeah. And Taylor even gets sniped on the jump back in, so just kind of awkward all around, and the power stagger is not going to help either. Yeah, it's just definitely a very awkward situation. I think that yeah, I think like you said, um, if you had potentially, I'm not entirely sure on this, but if you did have Soldier up here, and so FTWin's kind of been liking huddling up in this general area here. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, FTWin's been liking huddling up in this area here. Uh, and I think that's, with Taylor over here at this black dot, they've kind of found it awkward to approach in the first place because everything basically has like the same range as them. They're not able to do anything. Whereas if you had Soldier over on this side, they would be able to drop in with a bubble if they find like even a moment of like
Well, also,
openness.
what Taylor has to do is if he wants to put any shots on ramp, he has to step out onto grading.
Yes.
But if Soldier wants to put shots, he basically he has to just kind of touch the edge of the grading. He doesn't
Yeah,
have to commit as much to actually putting shots on that ramp where FTWin is sitting.
that's
It
true.
makes huddling there, and like you said with the bubbles, it makes it a lot harder to huddle in that step safely. But with Taylor there with the shorter range and the booyah giving a lot of notice on, hey, I'm using this thing, don't stand there, I'm about to use it. It makes it a lot safer for FTWin to sit on that ramp.
Yeah.
Also, like the 96 has approximately the same range as the K Pro, so and like Jet Squelcher just flat out has much better range when not in Stingray than Pro.
Yeah. Yeah, Kyo's doing a really good job pushing up. Fuck. I think I went backwards a little bit. Yeah, right here. Yeah, Kyo gets over into that top right, and I feel like a lot of the time people just aren't ready for flanks. Like up there, it feels like once someone gets there, everyone's like, "Wait, I didn't think they were that close already," and getting snowballing a couple of picks there. And uh, at this point, Slaughterhouse has to just rush the zone. But with how little paint their comp has, they're not able to really do anything. I think like Keel getting this pick just kind of seals the game. Slaughterhouse had like enough time to um, kind of like stabilize a bit and think about what they were doing, but it felt like they kind of went a little bit too fast going in on that right side. But can't really blame them.
Yeah. Chode walking up here is just so big.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just yeah,
Like
just
it just solidifies the game. Because like if he's sitting back near Biscuit and giving Power and Keen, I think it is that high ground, it's there an attempt can be made to retake because they can close distance, but him just going up there says, "Nope, this game's mine. Bye bye."
yeah. I mean, this is a very strong position, like you said.
Well,
My
yeah, like
my
that corner is kind of no man's land for weapons, but if you get past the corner, then you're home free. You get to have as much fun as you want.
Yeah, I mean, just being able to, Tent loves to just kind of come up over here and drop down and go right. But if you're FTWin, if you get any sort of presence here, obviously this is a hard spot to hold, but getting any sort of presence here stops the tent from just continuing to move forward, and it stalls for time, like you said. Bagel's in a similar position over here, where basically their presence here, they probably can't hold there for long. I'm against especially like a bamboo, but their goal is to just stop people from holding forward and rushing the zone in time. So basically, just being able to control this space here is kind of what stalls it long enough. And I think like most holds end up kind of starting or stemming from getting into strong positions like these, and sometimes if you get a pick, then the hold takes extra long. Basically, it's just like you stagger the enemy team. If you don't get a pick, that's kind of what ends up happening. It's basically you attempt to take these strong positions. If you're able to get a pick, good job. You netted your team an extra 20 something points. But yeah, uh, just like those two positions are very strong on this map. game 4, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I think this is the one that Slaughterhouse comes back on, and I like. Yeah,
Yes,
I
I
did
think it
not. I
is.
like saw this game with like 15 seconds left or something, and I was like, oh, it's over. And I came back and Slaughterhouse had an extra point.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Seems like
So
both teams are kind of going with the old standby. FTWin coming out with very similar comp, and same on the side of Slaughterhouse, except with actually the hammer tent and bubble bamboo. Interestingly,
yeah, I'm not as huge a fan of Slaughterhouse's composition here, um, mainly because there's a lot of elevation change
mm-hmm.
on this map because you're playing around the left and right hills and then kind of snipes looking into streets. I think Slaughterhouse's composition has a much harder time playing into the elevation changes that are present on this map than FTWin. Also, hammer. If you take a hammer out of street, if you put it like again on the left or right hill or like under basket, it just doesn't do anything. It's too wide open, and the hammer will just get shot. It will just fall flat. Whereas like FT-Win utility, armor, inkjet, missiles, like the more I've been thinking about missiles recently, the higher I've been on them. Just
Mm-hmm.
because it's so powerful to be able to just look at power or look at like Taylor holding high ground and just say, no, you can't sit up there anymore. It's just so strong. But like hammer is really only effective if they're like FT-Win is going to hold 4 people in street, and it's FT-Win. They're never going to hold 4 people in street,
Right.
and you're going to have to be hard pressed to find value with missiles or not missiles, mines. Like I personally either would have probably stayed Sorella tent because it can just stall so much time, especially if it gets set up in like near or under basket. It can stall so much time with wall and curling rush and just keep clams going forever.
Yeah. It's definitely kind of has that like awkward. I don't know how to start the push on the map when you get into the street feeling to it, but Slaughterhouse does have their classic double bubble, which is which is just definitely a decent way of getting through mid. Very nice picks actually from Taylor in mid. So Power and Keen got backed off pretty far on that left side, which FT1 could have rotated back mid if they had gotten that pick. Yeah, Taylor a little bit on their own there. And this is a very nice push already coming out from FT1. Anytime that you end up in a position where if you have, oops, that's not the right color. Anytime you're starting a push on this map and you already have someone over here, it's going to go a long way. Starting over on this side of the map enables you to stop people from dropping even like a tent. If the tent wants to drop down this way and start moving over here, you've got a bomb to their back. It's definitely a very strong position.
Yeah. And like the only way that Slaughterhouse is kind of able to stop these pushes is to just throw bubbles out over street and just let them kind of hang there. Because if you just let bubbles hang, no one's going to go there. Like, exactly what happened to Bagel.
Yep, right there.
If I'm FT... Ooh. So Slaughterhouse just got really nice picks. I need to get clams. If I'm Slaughterhouse, I am just looking everywhere for clams.
Yeah. Interestingly... Go ahead.
Sorry, continue.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. You were talking.
I was going to mention there are some pods up on the top right hill from this perspective. That's the only current pod I see on the map. One just spawned in FT-Win Street. So there aren't many clams on the map, which is really good for FTWin because that means they got, obviously, a lot of points. They got a lot of the clams off the map and into Slaughterhouse's basket. But what I'm concerned about if I'm FTWin is those clams are going to regenerate. And I'm not going to have control over who gets what clams. So in the next 10 seconds, Slaughterhouse is probably going to go from 6 clams to, if they're actually playing objective, to probably around 16 to 20 clams, which is going to start putting a lot of pressure on FTWin because the clams, obviously, it's going to get them special charge and it's going to threaten a lot of points.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm FTWin at this point, I mean, I feel like at this point, getting, jeez, when did that get so big?
Scroll wheel.
Probably. Anyways, if I'm FTWin, I want to get over onto this side of the map. My goal at this point is basically by painting them out here. I think Bagel potentially could have. Power was in mid, which has pretty awkward sight lines. But I think if you get over here, you kind of stall them for getting clams. And you control the paint on this side. You'll see in a sec that FTWin, that Slaughterhouse kind of ends up moving back towards mid. Moving back like in that direction, and takes control of that side of the map. And again, if you just try and push entirely through street, you're probably going to have a difficult time sustaining the push. So getting like that presence on the right side gives you those extra clams and the control.
The one thing that I really like about the Slaughterhouse composition is when it has 4 specials, it has so much stall potential. Like double bubbles, as long as you let them hang on the map, which is a very underappreciated strategy, it will stall out a bunch of time because no one's going to want to approach those. Also, Kyo, if you back it up a little bit, just demonstrated a wonderful reason why I am low on Camo Tent. Why I personally don't like it that much. So 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, the splashdown.
Like it. Hammer is, I think, probably the weakest of all the specials Tent has access to. I also mines. Why do I keep confusing them? I just don't see how Mines Hammer is helpful for a Tent.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of does the same things that Tent already does well, which is killing people who are like in close quarters, close proximity to your shield, and plus it doesn't cover the weaknesses Tent has, where you're very slow approaching anyone who isn't like already extremely close to you. And once you hammer, that just kind of exacerbates that. You realize how far away you actually are from the place you want to get to.
Well, it also makes you extremely vulnerable.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't do anything with my shield. It doesn't pair up. Because if as a hammer you're staying with your shield, then you're moving so slow.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse with their patented deploy shield up street.
Yeah, they attempt to do that, I think. So, like, Bubble Tent in this situation probably has a better time doing this, and is less vulnerable to getting bombed from behind. Yeah, actually, Keen popped the hammer right before they died. So, obviously, they probably don't want to run triple bubble, but, like, this situation, the Tent alone isn't really enough to deal with it. If Taylor's Inkjet gets over the snipe, maybe it works, but you need to clear it out before anything happens. Like, Soldier's flanks too late. It's kind of just like a... Yeah, it's just like not the best timed thing.
I would actually probably like triple bubble more than
What in the world?
The double bubble. Because, and again, bubbles are super flexible. Like, just letting bubbles sit on the map is a super underrated strat, I think.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's such. They deny so much area. They just say, you can't stand here or you will die. Like, and then especially with Tent Shield, they go at almost the exact same pace as your shield, so they pair up with you really, really well. I am also, like, beacons, if used, are probably, like, one of the best sub weapons in the game. Because if the enemy team doesn't deal with beacons, they will just win.
Uh-huh.
Like, beacons are so good.
Yeah, I think, I think it's like probably, yeah, I mean, I would just generally agree on the vanilla tent probably being the better pick here. But like as for what was going on in the map, um FTWin kind of like half pushes here. It felt like could have had something going in mid there. They got a pick. It felt like they could have snowballed it, but I think it works out anyways because Kyo gets on the flank. All of Slaughterhouse comes into mid. Nobody is near the snipe.
Yeah, they all group up in mid, and what Kyo does here is with the power getting on this flank, it pulls a lot of attention towards him.
Oh yeah.
Like, Taylor pops the inkjet just to maybe threaten Kyo. He recalls, so now we've pulled the entire of Kyo single-handedly pulled the entirety of Slaughterhouse into street, and somehow Keen goes on a little adventure into FTWin basket and just gets beamed.
Yeah. It's definitely like a well-timed flank. Kyo threatening with the power clam forces them to do something quickly. The tent push is not going. Tent pushes are never fast. So yeah, and I'm not so keen on the bamboo bubbles. It feels like a kind of awkward situation where you like have to get in, throw your bubbles, and then back away as bamboo, or you're never like close enough to do your bubbles effectively. But like in this situation, in this situation here in mid, FTWin is like completely lacking all their paints on the right side. They definitely need to like get someone over there. That power clam, yeah, that they definitely. It's kind of tricky actually because normally I would say they need some presence over on the right side, but with the power clam and some change, they really need to focus mid because anyone who gets through mid is going to end the game. But yeah, now that they all group up on the right side, it's kind of like becoming more apparent how much paint control they're lacking over there. I think, let's see.
What happens here is FTWin gives Slaughterhouse exactly what they want. Slaughterhouse wants FTWin to group up so that I can deploy bubbles and inkjet and tent shield and just pen them in and wipe them out. Because like Keen is going to open his shield and deploy it down mid, and then FTWin have to shoot it. Because if they don't shoot it, there's a very real possibility that the entire Slaughterhouse just walks in behind that shield and they lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big thing is with Kyo going down on this right hill, or the top hill rather, from our perspective. That's really, really bad because that gets rid of the control that they have up there. If FTWin can hold control of hill, or at least not just give it up until overtime, it would force Slaughterhouse to go mid, in which case they flip the script, and this game goes completely differently.
Yeah, I mean, this control on this side is extremely threatening. When you've got, the control on like the right side is extremely threatening when your weapons are so short range, like FTWin is, especially since Biscuit, the only one who has, I'd say, consistent kill power at range, goes down. Basically, that this like long arm that Slaughterhouse has can just kind of poke at FTWin over here, and that just kind of clears them out over there. So that was just a really well executed push by Slaughterhouse. They took advantage of the one going down over on those hills and turned that
and
into
then
a
used that
push.
to. They put Keen right where he wanted to be, with a lot of people shooting his shield right up the middle. Then, like, Power and Soldier just had the time of their lives shooting across the water into bunker and street, and that's how they won the game.
Yep.
Oh, those KAs.
Yeah, so nice. 10-10-10. Winning the lottery here. And I think, you know, the bubbles provide such like a consistent pushing power for a Slaughterhouse. Like they sacrifice that. They sacrifice like a lot of defense, like consistent defense, in order to have those consistent pushes with the bubbles. Like bubbles on defense aren't probably the best thing, especially like if you don't. I don't know. Like if you're coming off respawn, you don't farm bubbles to defend, right? Most of the time.
I mean, unless you're a Kensa Junior. But what bubbles do is, again, is if people just let them hang, the enemy team has to deal with those. Those are
Yeah.
3 big orbs or spheres of
Orb.
you have to deal with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't, they're putting down turf, they're putting down lethal pressure, meaning I can die if I don't deal with that. And they're tanky. Like, if you're running any amount of special power-up, they have high HP, and it scales really high really fast.
Yeah.
I could look up that number if I really wanted to, but...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking that, like, bubbles are the kind of special you want to use when you're, like, in a neutral situation or have the advantage. If you use them kind of like in a... I mean, you can use it to turn the tides, but, like, if you try and bubble, like, defensively, they might just get shredded just because you're trying to bubble into, like, what is already a lot of pressure.
They're very
They're
unique
versatile.
in that you have to... Yeah, they're very versatile, and depending on how you use them, you... Special... It depends on your positioning. So depending on where you're positioning, like, for example, Soldier held on Snipe by just putting them down over street and popping them, and Bagel just exploded.
Mm-hmm.
That's a more aggressive hold, but if, like, for example, Keen, he's going to generally, if he uses bubbles, throw them into tent shield and let them sit there and tank.
Yeah. I think let's go to a quick like 2-minute break. I've got to run to the bathroom really quick. So we'll see you guys in just a minute. Alrighty. You're back. Yeah, so with that, I think that was the fourth game, right? Yeah. Slaughterhouse brings it
Yes.
to a 2-2. Right. Clan Blitz on Sturgeon Shipyard's the next one. This is an interesting map. I have opinions on this. Do you have opinions?
I'll let you state your opinions first.
Bubbles are insane here. They're like absolutely bonkers nuts. This is like such an awkward map to defend on. Once you get locked out, basically these areas on both sides of the map here. Allow me to.
There's no turf. You're gonna have to switch to like magenta.
Yeah. I realize that. Yes, these areas here are death traps. And if you end up dropping in them, you're probably going to die because everyone shoots you from every possible direction. But the same thing kind of goes from the other side. I think it's definitely extremely awkward when, well, bubbles come in here, just because you can chill in them for so long. There's basically almost no distance from mid to get into the basket for anyone who's bubbling. Most of the weapons I like aren't so great here. I think with those areas being like total death traps, I think that mid-range weapons can kind of struggle. That's my opinion, though. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, weapons like Pro, Squeezer, I'm not a huge fan of the pick here, because like you said, in a defensive situation, like, under basket's just a death trap. On the flip side, I agree, bubbles are really, really good here, because if you throw them down in the death trap, you can just sit there and throw clams in, and more clams, and more clams, and more clams. So I really like that Slaughterhouse is kind of pushing the envelope with bubbles, because you can see a lot of creativity flex with how you deploy them, how they're used, and what to get done with them. And something I kind of wanted to talk about here is Kyo and the Soda. Because this is kind of between talking with like myself and Pika. We're kind of not. I'm not super high on Soda as a slosher. Main reason being is the inconsistency that is Burst Bomb Rush.
Yeah.
So if I pop a Burst Bomb Rush that's not like on land, there is more often than not, the hit detection is going to be mediocre at best and just absolutely horrible at worst. Whereas something like an alternative like Vanilla Slosher with Suction Bomb Missile is a lot more consistent, and Suction is, especially against bubbles, is more damage to shrink them to a smaller size faster. Also, with missiles, it's much more consistent for what like Slosher needs help with, which is kind of breaking in against some of those longer range matchups. So I personally would have liked to see Kyo do like a vanilla slosh here, but like Soda is not bad here by any stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly like Soda just because of the Splat Bomb it has. Splat Bomb is, of course, incredibly powerful, and I think you're going to want, well, I mean, Vanilla does have Suction Bomb, but having a Splat Bomb is very nice against the bubbles. I think overall, the Burst Bomb Rush isn't the worst thing in the world. I think you're going to have a hard time using it basically anywhere except right here, like from the snipe or from the spinner. Otherwise, you just don't have line of sight on anyone except people who are already in your face.
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird. But still, similar thing coming out from FTWin.
Yeah. Something I'm going to be kind of interested is, yeah, Taylor's flirting with some danger, because he did a really, yeah,
Yeah, that was
It
sketch.
looking, it feels like looking at a lot of his starts is they're very, very risky. It feels like I'm watching him flip a coin. Like the first game, TC Ancho, he flipped the coin and won. But like Musselforge and right, like that example right there, he lost, and it's put his team on a significant, um, it put them at a significant disadvantage
Yeah.
early on in the game, and especially like in Clan Blitz, and especially against FTWin, that's very challenging to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, this map in particular, I think, like, let's go back a sec. Taylor does come out very aggressively. Keen backs off, and Taylor is definitely just like Taylor's just left
Mulling.
alone there. I think like it with power was briefly in snipe, but with them going over onto that left side, it feels like you kind of need to like pick a side and go there at the start here. Like I think one of the worst things you could do at this on this map at the start is, and one of the things that I do the most is going over to the side, painting a bit, realizing there's too many people, and then backing off. I think you just kind of have to pick a side and go and join your team over there. So like you see, FTWin has kind of all decided. They start over here and then they realize they actually want to push over to the left side here, and they all end up going there. But with Slaughterhouse kind of splitting their attention halfway this way and then halfway over here, they're just unable to really help each other out. And I think like that's the kind of thing that probably needs to be talked about. Uh, yeah, it's because it's just kind of hard with even just one or two people on this map to like win a fight on your side, just because it's never as simple as a a direct fight like 1v1 or anything.
Mm-hmm. So FTWin has a lot of clams. Um, Again, they won the opening fight, which so they're in control of the current clam economy. Um, no one's really backing up to get clams, which kind of disappoints me uh, because we're still staying aggressive, but it feels like we look at Biscuit and Kyo, they're fighting two completely different fights, and if one or both of them lost their fight, I think this continued push gets a lot more risky. Granted, they're two of the best at what they do, so they understand the risk. But I would like to see FTWin playing a bit more clam blitz rather than slightly more aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Bursty going back and getting clams in mid. I mean, the fact that most of the clams spawn over here, like the clams end up spawning like over here, over here, in the pits, and really there isn't much that spawn by the basket. So anytime you want to get clams, you kind of have to back up, potentially go like even up the stair and back, and it's like once you do that, it becomes a lot harder to get back in. So like with the number of people they had still up, it's a little awkward to get a super sustained push. But
Well, and that's honestly one of the things that I kind of like about this map is the fact where you actually have to either come in with a bunch of clams and then put them all in, or kind of resolve yourself to a single power push.
yeah,
So, and you're kind of seeing the ramifications of FTW not backing up and getting any clams because they respawned, and then all of the clams were on the map. So as soon as Slaughterhouse walked in, they instantly get two powers, and I still see 12 clams sitting on the map, so they could easily get another power.
man, Soldier, you
So
gotta go there.
basically, as soon as Soldier wants to push, he can put his bubbles down and walk in, and Slaughterhouse just takes their counter to 40.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering at this point, like, I think at this point you've gotta just go spinner. You see two of your teammates ahead of you. There's one person in the top left, but they're not a charger or anything. They're not going to get you. I think like
Yeah.
you've already got bubbles, or you've already got Keen's bubbles in the courts, and it feels like both the power claims are just kind of sticking back while a like half-assed push is going on. There's just
Yeah,
like not on the same page.
what it feels like to me looking at this is that Keen's like, "Hey guys, jump to me," and then he bubbles in, and then they're like, "No, we don't want to jump." So now we're kind of leaving Keen out to do his thing, or like,
Yeah,
um, Soldier didn't want to jump in with bubbles or something. It's kind of what it felt like, because
yeah,
I don't think anyone would debate the fact that was, if the powers had gone in, that probably would have been a really, really good push for Slaughterhouse.
yeah. I mean, just like with a slight delay after like some trades in mid, the same thing ends up coming to fruition. Like we've got the power clam with Keen. He's also got the bubbles, and this is kind of like the dream push. Power's path is open. They get it in without even dropping into the pit. They're able to pick up some more as a result, and they're able to get quite a bit on the board. Unfortunately, with like their main aggro on respawn, I guess it's going to be hard for them to continue pushing forward. But I think Taylor's able to sneak in the lead here, right? No.
Just short.
Yeah.
Yeah. FTWin's pushing this back. I think FTWin is set up really nicely. They mirror missiles, but as soon as his armor comes out, I'm expecting to see Biscuit pop his inkjet. And once Biscuit pops the inkjet, first he's heading straight for basket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They get the clam in. FTWin also has a decent amount of clams. Taylor reset to pit, which could have been punished.
Nice. Those are really good bubbles. I mean, I don't need to tell you that they got a triple, but I think basically like they were saving the clams for, or the bubbles specifically for people who are coming in on this side here. They're just very good at just clearing out this entire space, and they get a couple on the jump in, and that's, like you said earlier, all the clams end up spawning in mid, and Slaughterhouse should be able to get a whole bunch on the pushback in. Biscuit does get a trade though.
Yeah, yeah. So now Slaughterhouse needs to flip the map back, and that's Keen's big job. But Keen basically stopped painting as soon as he got bubbles, so he just decided to throw some bubbles out. Again, Slaughterhouse needs to pick up clams. They need to pick up clams. Like, why we're pushing without clams? So I don't know why we're pushing at all.
There's like almost no, like if you look at this map, look at where the clams are. There's 4 here. There's like 3 here, and then that's it. There's no clams anywhere else.
There's probably 2 pods under mid that just nobody's picked up the entire game.
True, I forgot about that.
Something else I kind of want to point out, if you'll pause, look towards, bottom left, and then, so, you know where Rainmaker pushes? You go up box, you jump towards the left, and then that little high ground where clams spawn, both teams have just left those pods there. They haven't touched them.
Yeah, Slaughterhouse has not had anyone up there the whole game.
No, they have, because there's only 1 clam there, which means Slaughterhouse has actively decided to pick up 3 and leave 1.
The Azure strat.
Well, yes, but actually, no.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, of course you did. Which is just a really good active decision to say, I don't want clams up there anymore. I'm just going to stop them.
Yeah.
On the flip side, FTWin has 4 clams sitting up there towards the clam count, so they're... Yeah. But not having those spawn is really good for mid-push stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I think most of that choice like isn't super conscious. Like the leaving 1, it definitely is. But yeah,
it was a conscious decision from Power.
Yeah, from Power. I don't know about like FTWin up there. I think they just probably didn't.
I think they just don't go up there.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah.
So again, Slaughterhouse is pushing. We still need clams. Okay, good. We're
yeah. Okay, so
spawns...
this one was kind of weird. So that's Keen's last bubble over here. and then Soldier comes in with one bubble there. They're like looking for more people, and then they like try and go for a pop on the bubble there. And it feels like to me in this situation, you need sustain. I think you got to leave those bubbles there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Like in this situation, you've got 5 clams, you can stall the basket. If you don't have a bubble and your bubble weapons, you're not looking so hot against a bunch of aggros running in or dropping on your face.
Yeah. Keen's also on high ground, playing this really, really well.
Yes, that's
just
true.
continue to rotate clams in. Like Keen has been playing Clam Blitz, which I really appreciate as someone who is a big proponent of kills don't win me games, objective wins me games.
Yeah.
So seeing someone actually pick up a load of clams, because he got the power in and then got like 8 smaller clams in. I think I know he got at least 14 total clams in, which is really, really good from him.
Yeah. But holy shit. FTWin has a ton of clams. Yeah, FTWin has a lot of clams here. Keen, wow. That's a very clutch kind of bubble pop there. So you see them like farming this entire time for bubbles. And I think in their minds, the bubbles are really just kind of like a brick wall. And they're just kind of waiting until FTWin eventually, in order to like get clams, FTWin's got to gather up onto this middle area. So using the bubbles like preemptively in mid is very strong.
Yeah. Also, what it does, what the bubbles did, and they had me really, really conflicted when I was watching the set live. But that's something else to talk about. Is they flipped all of the turf control that Bursty pushing up on that left side had accrued. It just flipped all of it. It said, you don't have turf, I have lethal pressure here, there's nothing you can do about it. And that triple, I would say, probably won them the game. and there's the tactical desk slam.
Yeah, I think like getting those bubbles super early is definitely like a good way. Like if this was just a normal situation, I think using your bubbles there, FTWin has no problem backing out. But again, this is like overtime and time's ticking, or the clock's ticking.
Yeah.
So like being able to, kind of meet them at, I don't know what the freaking like phrase is, but like being able to just be there ahead of time and like just be ready for them before they even start a push is like something that good players take advantage of. Like as the time's ticking down, you know that the other team has to play faster and has to make certain decisions, like rushing mid.
And then you can then play off it. Also, something else I didn't notice until right now is FTWin went in with 10 clams. They only went in with a power. Like, they had 11 for maybe a tenth of a second, and then whoever had that clam went down.
Yeah, that's true. At the same time, I think, Kyo picked up... Basically, Keen and Power have the clam, so they should be able to pick one up from their bodies if they get a pick, but yeah, like, at this situation, people aren't doing math in their head, and they probably just picked up any clams they saw on the way there, and none else. Yeah. Rip Kyo's desk.
It was Bursty's desk.
Or Bursty's desk. Rip Bursty's desk. Yep.
Yeah. Keen on the Kensa Junior especially has just been like so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like his bubbles are really good. All right. The patented FTWin double splatling.
Dude, Taylor really does start these games just like...
He flips a coin.
Yeah, just like hold forward, hope you win, you know?
Yeah.
Or just take a 1v1.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I love this fucking push from Kyo. Like, He just fucking holds forward into the enemy base just because being there puts on so much pressure. I really like
Well,
this. Like it's I don't know. I just really like this map is so small. Getting all the way up there definitely gives your team some space. I like kind of getting up. They basically are rushing the enemy spawn to try and slow down the people who are respawning before they can get out. Because
yeah,
if you slow it down at all and like I don't know, if you end up like here at the block when people are coming back from spawn, now you're just gonna end up surrounded.
yeah. Well, what I really liked from Kyo there is, and I'm not entirely sure, but the conscious decision to let Taylor walk past.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was a conscious decision or if Kyo just didn't see them, but the irregardless, letting Taylor go past and saying, I'm going to let you 3v1, I think was probably the best decision Kyo could have made there.
Oh yeah, I mean
Because
it.
now he gets the super far position. He's in there.
Yeah, I mean like they had in mind basically spawn camping when they started this push. They're like they set their eyes on like this wall here, and they said, "I'm gonna rain it. I'm going to sit there. You're not leaving spawn." And basically, that slows down the respawns of Keen, Soldier, and Power. Which, I mean, even if Kyo just fucking instantly died here, this is gonna give them a push to like 20.
It's gonna get them to the base of the ramp, which can win a lot of games.
Yeah.
That first push is so strong.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah. First, he made the conscious decision not to fight Soldier, which is really, really good because he doesn't let the NA let me go fight things take over, which is why FTWin is so good. Uh, Keen on this flank is
Interesting.
it's interesting, but I think it's probably the right call because it gets him the most uncontested space away from pedestal. He
Yeah.
doesn't need to fight anybody to get that far away from pedestal. Even if he barely crosses the midline, like actually scoring points from 12 is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, like, I want to just go back here. In this situation, okay, yeah, grabbing it is probably the right move, but I'm kind of wondering, like, I don't know. I'm just wondering if like you'd be able to do something with the Rainmaker as a weapon in mid, just trying to push back through mid. You know, because
Well, the big thing
if you end
here,
up over here, it's like you're like setting yourself up for like a stagger.
he
Hey,
doesn't have anybody in mid except the enemy team.
yeah,
So if you rewind it like 10 seconds,
there's power, but that's it.
well, yeah. So there's power, but there's nobody else, and the rest of FTWin just spawned in.
Hmm.
So if I challenge mid, I am almost positive he just dies.
Yeah.
Like Bagel wipes him out, or like gets killed by a bursty bomb, or just gets absolutely beamed by Biscuit. So I think taking it this right side and just again putting as much distance between the Rainmaker and Pedestal as he can is absolutely the right call. So also it puts the Rainmaker in a kind of awkward position for FTWin because they have to cross the entirety of mid in order to actually do anything with it. I'm gonna be honest, Chief. I don't know why Power
That's
touched that.
yeah,
I That's an interesting
I
decision.
not the best idea. That's just like I'm confused as to like why.
So what this says, do I think FTWin is actually gonna leave Rainmaker unattended?
Yeah.
I think if you're facing any other team except FTWin, that decision works. Because so many teams will leave Rainmaker uncontested, and it drives me up the wall. Like I have seen so many teams just lose games because they leave Rainmaker uncontested. FTWin is not one of those teams.
Yeah, I'm kind of got an interesting situation like shaping up in mid. They're kind of some awkward specials being popped that Jet didn't seem like the I don't know. that jet seems like a situation where you're jetting in mid, your recall is definitely going to be under fire. Being an inkjet like right there doesn't seem to be super useful when you're trying to fight people like who are right next to you. It's just kind of awkward overall. Yeah, and I
It
think
felt,
like
I think FTWin was trying to force a play that just didn't need to be forced.
yeah.
Because if I'm FTWin, I'm perfectly content to just stall this Rainmaker out on flanks and wait till Kyo just dives in and just pulls a triple out, or Bagel gets an inkjet and just decides that Slaughterhouse doesn't exist anymore. Like, if I'm FTWin, I'm perfectly content to just kind of stall time because I'm winning by a lot.
Oh yeah.
There's no reason for me to have to force these plays.
Yeah, and I mean just look at the rain. The rains plural. They just cut
Yes.
Slaughterhouse in half here. They separate Power and Taylor away from Keen and Soldier, and like now Power and Taylor are kind of rushing to get back towards the Rainmaker. I mean, Kyo backs off here, which kind of like gives them some space to get towards the Rainmaker, but I think like this is a situation that could have turned well or like been very powerful like if Kyo was over in
If
mid here.
basically, I think if Power didn't pop these missiles, this is another 12-point push for FTWin.
Yeah, those are big missiles
I
for sure.
yeah, the only reason that this doesn't snowball into oblivion is because Power pops missiles that forces Kyo back.
Hmm.
Because if Kyo isn't missiled, he is running headfirst at the enemy team.
Yeah.
Well, actually, maybe not, but he's looking to posture much more aggressively.
Running headfirst to a strong but safe position.
Yes. Well, I mean, if we want to be honest, that's really just FTWin.
Yes. I mean that's good players for you.
Something I would be curious of this match that we're never going to see on Overhead is how many beacons Biscuits put down, and if if he's actually
Mm,
putting any beacons down, and then B, if they were actually getting used. That's something I would like to know.
I don't think I've seen that many beacon jumps this game.
Yeah. Well, and they're harder to see on Overhead.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse just kind of forgot what a flank was there, if I'm going to be honest. Like,
Yeah. That was that was just kind of awkward. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like you see a lot of the time, or I think it happens pretty frequently on this map where someone goes right around here. You're like, I didn't see anyone here. There's no flankers. No, they were already over here.
yeah. Well, and that's the big. That's honestly, in my opinion, one of the big win conditions for this map. If you control your flanks, it's very easy to just snowball a game into victory because restricting the enemy team into mid up either the two ramps or a wall is very difficult to deal with if you're pushing in.
Mm.
It's very much favored position for the defending team, obviously. So if you shut down that flank, like if I just sit bursting on the left side and make sure they can't walk over grading, then I'm like content to do that a majority of the time, or run a traditional anchor and they'll be on snipe and they'll call that out and people will rotate semantics. But yeah, flank control is definitely one of the higher priority things to deal with on this map. So like if you want to practice flank control, like play this map, just grind this map into oblivion,
Yeah,
and you'll probably know how to control a flank by the end of it.
I'd hope so.
Well, yes. It's gotten too hot. Armor, inkjet. Yeah. FTWin walks in the mid with armor, and there's not much else you can do about it. Yeah. Looking back at most of these games and really thinking about it, if you look at the first 15 seconds, you'll generally be able to see who's going to win the game. Like maps
Yeah,
1, 2, so the first two maps were like that. This map was like that. It's because it's so much harder to retake a defending team than it is to push. So pushing when the defending team has no resources is the strat.
Oh yeah, and then these are the Mako games.
Yeah, I'm looking at Slaughterhouse, and I'm wondering personally why Soldier isn't running Machine.
Yeah, this is such a good machine map.
Well, it's such a good machine map, and B, I don't think it's a good squeezer map. There's
Yeah.
the things that make it really good for Machine make it, I think, really bad for squeezer. And Double Cloud isn't something that Bubbles want to play into. Because as soon as Bubbles deployed, it starts taking damage from Cloud, which makes it significantly harder to blow up. And to use it as Azure calls it, to nuke with them.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, I'm wondering why we're not just letting Soldier play Machine, unless he's just not feeling as good on Machine after some of his own play.
Definitely possible.
Taylor starting really aggressively and got bailed out by Power.
Yeah, the bubbles coming in and Power definitely helped them. Taylor definitely ends up on their own over there. I feel like it may have been a better move to try and start pushing, I don't know, cross over to the left side where those bubbles are going, rather than.
I mean, it makes sense for him to start stack.
Yeah.
But just he got so far away from the rest of his team that if he got marooned, Power has to hit the shot or he just dies. And that's not a situation that you want to be in.
Right.
Alright, what am I... Yeah. FTWin is doing a really good job of not letting Power get any value. He's sitting on... Power was sitting on stack, but they weren't actively peeking him. Biscuit was playing the low ground, looking towards snipe, which is, textbook how to deal with Charger. It's don't peek them, and then they can't peek you.
Yeah, I mean, especially on a map like this one, there's so much cover on this map. You can get to mid without fighting a Charger. I mean, obviously the problem is you're gonna have to deal with weapons that are strong on this map, like buckets as well, or bucket or machine or something. But Slaughterhouse is kind of lacking that. These Raze from Power have been pretty nice. They've gotten a few picks both times, but yeah,
that Ray from Power is their engaged strat.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say.
Get a pick with his, yeah,
that is their engaged strat, right? They of course have bubbles going for them, but nothing really can affect people at a distance on the team except for that Ray.
I personally, I'm not a huge fan of that. Just because if my retake entirely depends on, I think raying when you're on the back foot isn't strong because your enemy has turf, they can avoid it, they can do things like that. It puts a lot of weight on one player's shoulders, and I just don't think that makes a good strat. Where I have to have one player responsible for my entire team, and there's nothing else the rest of my team about it.
Dude, I don't Soldier is continuously trying to peek Bagel down here, looking back left and right. Wait, there's already Kyo just walks up in the meantime. It felt like both Power and Soldier definitely tunneled on this one guy, and you kind of have to do something. If you just continue to poke from a distance, you're not really accomplishing anything.
Yeah. What Slaughterhouse is doing is they're playing very skirmishy, and I don't think it suits them very well. But because again, like Kyo just came in from an off angle and got huge picks. Soldier's playing kind of far away from his team. Like we need bubbles to flip this zone. Like, and they need to, yeah.
There they
So
come.
the bubbles go on a zone, and that's why they flip. Because actually, do you mind pausing for a second?
Yep.
Looking at Slaughterhouse's composition, we have a normal Ray, which is how FTWin, or not FTWin, how Slaughterhouse is beginning of the map. And then we have two sets of bubbles. If we're trying to retake with anything except the bubbles, my Squeezer's not going to be able to take zone efficiently. My Charger's not going to be able to take zone efficiently. T-Tech and Junior, I feel like that's kind of the lowest common denominator in terms of turf. Basically, if I have any other combination of players up on FTWin, the zone is not going to flip unless I have bubbles on it.
Yeah.
Or the entire team of Slaughterhouse. Because if I have Bursty and Keen shooting at the zone, they're going to cancel each other out. And then my Ballpoint and Nautilus at ranges are going to be better for painting zone than Squeezer and Charger.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
the burden of paint, or the amount of turf these teams can put out, which I think is very important in zones, especially because your objective is to control an area, is in favor of FTWin, and it's very hard for Slaughterhouse to recap unless they put 6 bubbles on zone, which is what they did. And even if they put 6 bubbles on zone, what does that leave me with to push through and solidify my control? Like Stingray and Inkjet. Inkjet isn't a bad tool, but Ray, when they've been using it to engage, it feels like Slaughterhouse doesn't have a lot in the tank, especially when they get to zone. Like, they get to zone, and then that's it. That's all they had in the tank.
Yeah. Like, once the Squeezer gets over here, the Squeezer's not getting bubbles in time to, like, push the top left. The Junior is not getting bubbles again in time to push the top left. If you don't have Inkjet at the ready, you're not going to really get control of it. Like, you can paint up, but you really kind of need to rely on, like, bubbling right as they come in here. So I think, like, in this situation, Soldiers probably needs to be in mid at this point, ready to slow the push down. They come in with the bubbles, but it's a little bit late.
I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't even looking at him. I didn't even realize he bubbled.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's how like insignificant that set of bubbles was.
Yeah, like, I think in this situation, you need to be somewhere closer to here. I think if Soldier is, like, right here, and they toss out bubbles this way, like, they do a significant amount more. I think you really, like, I mean, as a bubble weapon, you kind of have the luxury of being able to just press your panic button and hide in them, like, keep yourself alive. So, you know, if they're chilling here, like a second or two ago, if they're chilling here, like, right then, near where Taylor is, I think that they're able to slow down this push a significant amount. Like,
Yeah.
in the situation here, oh, here comes the armor. 2 members drop mid. Right here, like, I'm just thinking about how powerful, like, it would be if you had the bubble weapon here,
or even on stack.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I was gonna say something along the lines of, if Keen has bubbles, they could play super aggressive, like up here where Bursty is, even near that, but they don't have them yet, so Power and Keen have to back off. Like you said, like, their comp doesn't have too much steam after taking the zone. They just kind of run out of gas.
Like, and that's another situation where I feel like if Soldier and Keen switch places, I think their hold works a lot better, because then you have your 2 aggressive weapons being Taylor and Keen playing much closer together, and then you have your 2 weapons that kind of want to range things out,
Yeah,
playing closer to each other. Also, the Power Soldier combo actually has a fair amount of appeal with double Splat Bomb, and especially if Keen, or not Keen, Soldier has bubbles, like, that can get you a lot of space to get power either in or out of the map.
yeah. Keen goes in
Joe,
with the bubbles. The bubbles don't cap. FTWin outbanks them.
and yeah, like, that's what I was talking about just
Yeah.
it lost steam, they got to zone, fell flat.
Yeah. Oh, I got an arrow to power. Gotta erase that. Yeah,
Quick
I
erase
mean,
it before people see.
FTWin's so strong on Mako. And I think we go right to Mako Tower, right? Yeah.
Yep, it goes right to MakoMart tower control.
Yeah, this is...
Which is surprisingly plays very similar yet very differently than zones. Because zones, you're kind of taking the left and right sides at the same time, but on tower, obviously as the tower moves forward, you have to play the map very differently as you're transitioning from left, then to right stack, and you're playing kind of in between. Also, places that are just kind of useless in zones actually like start getting a lot more value as the game moves forward.
Yeah. Double knot.
So
I'm not a fan of double knot, but
I don't like double knot in theory. Let's pause for a minute so we can talk about double knot. So my problem with double knot, personally, Bowcut runs it. I like how Bowcut runs it a little bit better, because they do double junior. But double Nautilus, the reason double Nautilus works is I think because of a lack of turf in compositions from North America. That's
and
the reason double Nautilus works, in my opinion. Yes, and people feed. Teams aren't willing to go, oh, look, it's double Nautilus. As long as I don't overextend, as long as I don't get greedy for a kill, double Nautilus will be significantly less effective than literally any other slaying weapon. Because what Nautilus excels at doing is saying, you're overextended, not anymore, because you're dead. Like, look at Taylor on Sec. As soon as Taylor peeks this corner, Bagel is going to wipe him off the face of the earth. He just won't exist.
Yeah, Biscuit even gets them this time. Like, I don't know, like, being able to have two Nautiluses, especially, I mean, we've seen Taylor kind of going for a big play at the start. Like, against two Nautilus, that's not going to fly. I think, like, double Nautilus is the kind of thing that you need to wait for. Either use, like, Splash Wall against or wait for specials. You know, really just kind of don't play super overzealous. Mm-hmm. And just kind of let the plays happen. Because, I mean, not while it's a crazy good weapon, it's not the most mobile in the world. It's mobile enough, but, like, you can kind of, like, if you have, I don't know, let's go back to the start a little bit. Like, right here.
I would be... Yeah.
Right here. I was going to say, I think in this situation, Nautilus can't... You can approach it from, like, multiple angles. Like, soldiers should have no problem here trying to go, like, going around this way. I think, like, in this situation, trying to get, like, an angle on them, and, like, this is, I think, a mistake from FTWin, where they all end up in this nice little spot over here. I think that in an ideal world, if you get over here, you toss some bombs at them, they kind of end up in a situation where they can't get out of here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's obviously not what happens here. Like, the armor comes in, the rest of Slaughterhouse isn't, like, up yet. I mean, the armor obviously could have made that flank much more difficult, but I think, like, it's just kind of...
Also, to talk a little bit more about double knot specifically, double Nautilus lacks turf. It does not paint for itself. So basically, if I'm running a junior and then, like, a splatter shot, like Slaughterhouse is, I can effectively out-turf the double Nautilus composition. As long as, big asterisk, I don't play to kill.
As long as I don't die, you will outpaint them.
Yeah, as long as you're playing to your life, as long as you're playing, like, if I'm the T-Tech, as long as you're playing for your inkjet, or you're playing for armor, or you're playing to stay alive and win through objective, and not outslay. Because the big thing is, Taylor instantly pushed box, and then got wiped out.
Yeah.
He played for a frag instead of slowing down, playing for his inkjet, and then trying to use an advantage. Yeah, and it got punished extremely hard.
Yeah, like from this situation here, like, obviously regardless of like what team you are, what weapons you're playing, like you want to push, but I think in this situation, like Not is going to have a hard time. Like, how the hell does Not get over this edge to push at you? They really don't. They wait for you to do it. And it's just kind of like, you have to be really, really patient against Nautilus.
Yeah.
Like,
And
even if it means like waiting for an armor to come, it's just like you gotta play extremely patient. Just let it happen.
yeah.
Let it happen
And
and find
also,
ways to beat it.
like, the only reason that double Nautilus works is because they're also the best Nautilus players, period, end of sentence.
Yes.
Like, you will not find two better players than Biscuit and Bagel. Like,
I like how they're both bread food items.
yeah, that is entertaining. So, is the next, like, great Nautilus player going to be, like, Croissant?
Bread, biscuit, and cracker. Or bagel, biscuit, and cracker. There we go.
Yeah. Or Toast? Eyes?
Oh, toast. Yep. Gotta get him to pick up Not.
We've
Yeah.
actually tried. He doesn't like it that much.
Yeah, this inkjet over here, like the whole goal of that is just to stall, and I really like this. Like this Rain. Like okay, I just love the fifth teammate that Rain provides. The Rain really like I like how Kyo threw it. Like left a little bit left of the spawn. So basically, the Rain is coming over to help Bagel, and this is basically preventing anyone from like dropping into this area here. And of course, this area could let you get towards tower that way. So basically, Bagel and that Rain are taking care of this entire left side here. Like this entirely belongs to FTWin at this point.
Yeah, it's really smart special usage to force Slaughterhouse into a left side second point take. Because basically, my rule of thumb is once you're past first checkpoint, the right side of the map has become almost unusable when you're defending.
Yeah.
Simply because there's going to be like slushers and inkjets and bombs that are going to make that high ground basically unusable. So, how FTWin deals with this is they start throwing all of their resources where they know Slaughterhouse has to go, which is Slaughterhouse's left.
Yeah.
So one inkjet got used, and then another inkjet gets used, which is really smart, like staggering, or
yeah,
staggering of specials.
Yeah, and especially whoops. Well, yeah, Kyo and Biscuit going over onto that right side is very strong. I mean, just having the not be able to peek here, keep people back, and the try to get anyone who tries to go onto the stacks is just a very like strong combo in this situation. And even Bagel actually is able to make that jump from the tower into the top left, and that just makes this position so much stronger. Like getting up here, they're able to slow Keen down. That push would probably have like full wiped them otherwise. I don't know. It would just like have they wouldn't be in the situation they were in if they hadn't done that.
Yeah, like what this entire opening is from FTWin is really smart counter aggression. It's really smart counter aggression. So as long as they can keep it up in their defensive phase, FTWin is sitting very pretty coming into this position.
And yeah, here comes that inkjet out from Taylor. This is a bit weird, I'd think, because Taylor inkjetting over the top. Like this is a very strong position to inkjet, but this entire area on the bottom, like basically he inkjetted over here, but this entire area here was still purple. So anyone on FTWin was able to back up. Bagel was able to survive that, and basically the rest of FTWin wasn't like trapped in their spawn the same way that they trapped Slaughterhouse in their spawn. So basically the inkjet over here isn't enough to do it. So I think like Soldier did just get a pick over on this like top side here, but I think at this point Soldier needs to like rotate down here or towards the right side, just because
also,
as soon as that inkjet goes up, you're like, okay, we've got that side. Just go somewhere else.
You can tell Power is also in carrier mode right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's so deep in.
He's just doing his own thing.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we unpause this and at 3:45 he just dies because either Bagel picks him or Kyo
I'm
just
guessing
kind
what's
of
gonna
walks at
happen.
him. Because
Whoopsies.
VLC things. Because yeah, Soldier is really far back for where he needs to be. Basically, once the inkjet goes up, for the most part, first checkpoint done and dusted. You can start moving towards the right side of the map.
Yeah.
Him actually staying on the left side of the map, Slaughterhouse's left, is actually what's got him picked by Bagel. Because Bagel hit a really nice angle on him. Whereas if you moved away towards the right side of the map, he would have been in a better position for second checkpoint, and he also wouldn't have died from that top left high ground, Slaughterhouse's top left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what in the world happened here? Yeah, Keen tried to get a cheeky bubble killer too, but yeah, it looked like some people just everyone went to help their friend, and everyone except Bursty died. So they end up coming out on top with that. That's kind of bad, actually. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty bad. I feel like they just weren't, like, the surprise Nautilus landing from a stealth jump getting you is really awkward, and that staggers two of their members. Power has to jump out, and all of FTWin's already back. It's just like, watching out for stealth jumps is just important.
What that was is, again, I think it's FTWin, and the way I'm probably going to refer to them now, basically the entire time, is FTWin is counter aggression. Is that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They wait for you to engage on them, and then they win because that's what they excel at. Like, that's what Nautilus does. That's what Tri-Slosher really wants. Is it wants to be engaged upon, and then it sloshes, and people start dying. Like, if we watch that the final push again, you're gonna see a really good inkjet usage from the two Nautilus whose names escape me. Keen, you overextended. Makes me sad.
Yeah, just like over here, I think Keen saw Soldier going forward and decided it was time for them to go forward too, and that didn't turn into anything.
Yeah.
They were pretty far away from Power and Taylor. Power is like, again, it looked like Power thought that something was going to come of what happened with the push with Keen and Soldier and dropped into mid because of that, and then that just ended up really awkward.
It went pear-shaped.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that whole wipe there was really awkward.
So, right here, Bursty staying alive on tower is really nice. FTWin is actually kind of late on their rotation towards stack, but Biscuit has a really nice inkjet. Also, you can tell that FTWin watched the VODs of Slaughterhouse versus Supernova because they didn't let Power take the position that Supernova did that ended up losing Supernova the game.
Is that like this up here or something?
Yep. Power stood up there on second checkpoint and got a triple kill on tower.
Oh, I think I know which game you're talking about. Didn't everyone just kind of like rushed for the tower at the very end, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That. But yeah, I mean, Slaughterhouse made it happen on a good number of maps. They definitely struggled at the last few games.
What it really was, what I think it was, FTWin showed much better adaptation throughout the set, especially at the end. Like I said, they switched to a much more counter-engagey style of the Double Nautilus Tri-Slosher.
True.
And Taylor didn't adapt back. He didn't say, okay, I'm going to let you play your double Nautilus Tri-Slosher. I'm going to use what little range I do have on the Tri-Slosher and play for my inkjet, or play for my bomb kills and stuff like that. He kept trying to force plays, and those plays kept backfiring on him. And then FTWin would keep pushing forward. Also, like Soldier, he actually switched to machine here, which I actually didn't notice until now. really, really good switch from him. But the getting picked and the like is really, really kind of set them back. I think I personally would like to see Soldier play a lot more Machine because I think it is exceptional.
Yeah, I think that would be
I would
a
like to
good
see it
choice in the
used
future.
more. Yeah, just watching this last push again, I actually think if Keen had just come straight over stack with bubbles, it probably would have worked better because there would have been a main angle and an off angle. It wouldn't have been two people coming at the same side for the Nautilus to mow down.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, like this at the beginning, Slaughterhouse looked so good too.
Yeah.
Like again, like the double-edged sword to the aggressive play style of Slaughterhouse is if it works, it really, really works.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't work, it just snowballs out of control.
Yeah, and I'm coming to a spot here that I had in mind a second ago, like how we talked about how Slaughterhouse is kind of like, pushes in bursts, I guess. Like they kind of just a big explosion of bubbles and specials and stuff, and then they're out of gas. And I think the Splatlings actually, both of the Splatling picks in general were very good from FTWin. There's one point here, I think, where it was like, oh god, I can't even find it. There was a spot here where, yeah, right here, where like Soldier tries to push, and basically the ballpoint just sits there and continues shooting, and
Yeah,
it's
the
it's
ballpoint just sits there, and then Kyo comes in off the flank. Kyo does his thing, and the ballpoint just giggles.
Yeah, I mean, just like the weapons they play just don't do sustain. I guess, well, the bubbles as a strategy aren't great for, say, aren't amazing for sustaining pressure. They're more just kind of like a one and done powerful play. And it's just like Slaughterhouse definitely needs to needs to figure something out in terms of how they maintain their pushes after, say, like capping the zone, or even here, or even on Clam Blitz, it felt like they were popping their bubbles pretty early in terms of actually exploding the bubbles. And yeah, and I'm just wondering if that's like a weapon thing or just like a play style thing that should change.
I would say probably the easiest thing to do is maybe a change in comm structure, or at least how they communicate using bubbles. Because, for example, on Mako Zones, there was an instance where they retook and they just put 6 bubbles on zone.
Right.
If they only put like 3 bubbles on zone and then 3 on stack, then there's the potential to take enough space and get Taylor in, who's a good T-Tech. So give Taylor the space, he will do something with it. Yeah. But the big thing is, into FTWin, it's hard to take space as a T-Tech because of double splatling.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have liked to see, a little bit more communication. I'm assuming a little bit more communication on terms of I'm using my bubbles, then you're using your bubbles, then we're mislinked, then we're inkjetting type things.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're only committing the bare necessity of resources, and because it felt like again, it looked like that they would pop a bunch of stuff, like almost panicking, and then like, oh shit, that worked. What do we do now?
Yeah,
and you need to play with the idea that it's gonna work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but overall, I think they were able to catch FTWin with those like powerful bubble swings, and those are the games that they won.
Yeah. Well, and again, like the first game caught FTWin slacking,
Yeah, that's true.
where Taylor went up over Fan and then just proceeded to like play just an exceptional game of T-Tech. Like, and it's things like that where you don't see very often. You don't catch FTWin slacking very often. Like it, so like seeing it against high level, especially, is just very refreshing from like TASL and just Splatoon in general. Because like these are sets where they're few and far between, and even when you do see them, like in scrims or stuff, teams most of the time aren't even taking them very seriously.
True.
So like just seeing two teams that you know are like peaking or trying to play their absolute best is just refreshing.
Yeah, this is definitely an enjoyable set to watch.
Oh yes, and there are also a bunch of learning moments in here. Like, I'm sure if we watched this entire set over again, we would talk about completely different things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. That's
this
that.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to end it here for now?
Yeah, I think now's a good time to wrap it up. I think we had a good session. I hope that the I hope that you guys enjoyed the VOD review stream. Next time my audio will not be poopy. I hope it hasn't been too bad, and yeah, nice to watch a set. I don't know. I wonder what sets are we might want to do next time. The Radiance reset. Yeah, the Radiance reset is definitely one that we might want to look at. I haven't actually gotten to catch that, but that seems like something probably
Yeah, like
worth
I said, I
watching.
think it was 2-5 was the score that was put up on Twitter.com. So it's definitely one that needs to get that I need to watch. Also, it's just two of some of the best teams in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm always going to take more intelligence on Europe. Uh, we don't play them very much, and they play a very unique style.
That's true.
So I think this is where we bid our audience adieu.
Indeed. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Fusion. That's Raze. As if you didn't know already, because this is our stream. But thank you
I
guys.
mean, yeah, I would hope they know by now. But yeah,
Raze
thank you for watching,
underscore spot.
everybody.
See ya.
Yep, on Twitter and Twitch.